I was reading a blog recently, and it was the opinion of some of the people on the blog that the 98 and 99 CR125Rs were top heavy, their center of gravity being too high. Well, actually, the center of gravity only has one element when speaking of height, and it has several others that don't have anything to do with height. And the center of gravity is exactly neutral on it in all other respects. If you ride the bike on the pegs, or you ride it at full cry, you're going to be on the pegs anyway. So for racing the bike, it wasn't too tall if it was ridden the way the engineers had designed it. If you ride it that way, you can ride it slower as well, but you have to gear it down. And you have to use trials techniques. In other words, you need to counterbalance, etc. Your bars want to be moved forward a bit so that the grips align themselves with the fork legs. Your standing positions wants to be knees bent, pointed outward a bit, feet on the ends of the pegs. I prefer the balls of your feet, but you can go all the way into the arches. Just be careful. When you're doing wheelies and things like that, be sure you cover the rear brake, because a two-cycle doesn't respond at the flywheel like a four-cycle. So you let off it, a lot of times it's not going to come down. It's going to keep coming back over. So anyway, be advised. You want to ride it with your hands just addressing the bars, with your chin over the bars, your arms reasonably straight but flexed at the elbows so you can absorb shock. And you want to ride it neutrally. In other words, you don't want to be on the bars or grabbing the bars. You want to just be addressing the bars. On all of your turns, look through your turn, look ahead of the bike, not down at the front wheel. And use your foot peg in the direction you want to turn and bear weight on it. As you bear weight on that foot peg, counterbalance that weight with your buttocks in the opposite direction so that the bike will have a tendency to lay over and go through the corner. If your shoulders are aligned with the bars, the plane of your shoulders is parallel to the plane of the bars. As the bars turn into the corner from the weight on the inner peg, the bike will just flow right around the corner. You will want to feather the clutch at times to secure an even idle, because it is a two-cycle. So one finger on the clutch, one finger on the front brake lever, and that's the way you want to ride in a trials fashion. Your body actually becomes part of the suspension. So that's what I say. The high center of gravity means very little if the rest of the bike is central to its axial rotation. Anyway, we're going to go across this field and go into the back part of the property. A lot of rocks in the field. And so we're going to be kind of crouching back just a bit to take as much weight off the front end as we can while still being comfortable. And that'll keep the front wheel from being jarred aside in either direction when striking a rock. What I'm doing is I'm looking for an old trail that I used last time because it's fairly decent coming through there. There it is. Anyway, whenever you come to something you want to go over, you have only to preload the suspension, stand up smartly, pulling the handlebars with you, and then straighten out your legs. And you can carry it for as long as you want. Then again, be sure to cover that rear brake, because a little too much squirt on it and you can get the front wheel to come back all the way back over. Don't let go of the bike though, just tap the front brake or the rear brake and bring it down. Okay, now we're gonna go up a side hill here, and the side hill has got rocks strewn in there among the brush, and it has a tendency to roll the tire out from underneath you unless you counterbalance to compensate. That's why you're on the pins. We're going to come up through here and get a little bit of loft there, so we just kind of employ a little clutch slippage there, keep our RPMs back up. We're going to go up here and go into a little bit of a turn. It won't be a lock to lock, but we will be doing a couple lock to locks, and you can see how they work. Now we're going to go down this little trail here, and there's a lot of rock on it, and it's the kind of thing that likes to kill your motor, you know, do all kinds of things just to make you feel awkward and have you fall down on the high side of the bike, which is not a good feeling. We're going to turn here onto this. This is part of the trials leg that I use, going the other direction a lot of times, or sometimes going this way. But the bike doesn't make you tired. I got a little age on me. I'm kind of long in the tooth. I'll be 70 this winter, and I don't even get tired with this thing. It's just amazing. It's just great. I get a little tired on the CR125R, but I haven't set it up like I set this one up yet. But I fully intend to. But you can slow it right down to trial specs easily. It's very, very predictable. This particular bike, you can actually stop it and just remain balanced on it while you seek out the next little portion of your path, and it comes in really handy when you're on some really tough technical terrain, you know. Now, anytime you want to bring the front wheel up, like I say, just preload that suspension, and as you bring it up, blip in a little bit of throttle, and she'll do well. We're going to do that on this rock here. We're going to preload about here. We're going to bring it up there, right in the top 2/3 of the rock, and then over the other side. Now we'll do a little faster running, because we do want to use it for enduro style riding, because these hills are filled with game trails and all kinds of things, and of course all the hazards of the rocks and the logs and everything else. So you want it to be able to do both. And as it was, about the only thing it was good for was for motocross at full tilt boogie. And I like to be able to do more with a motorcycle than just grab a handful and hang on. Anyway, very nimble. It goes through the gears pretty quickly. Second gear is about where low gear used to be as far as the way it performs. But I still haven't put a foot down. This is all on the pegs, all in trials form. This turn is on the pegs as well. Remember to keep your legs spread a bit, your knees slightly bent, and absorb all the stuff the suspension does. You don't want to have to move your wrists when you're going for clutch or front brake levers, so be sure that the levers are at like 30 to 45 degrees, so that when you reach your fingers out, they just lay right on the lever, you know, whatever that is for you. Your height will determine what degree you're gonna face them down at. Now we'll go down here, and there's a little rough road that goes back into the place. It was our original road, and it washed out and a bunch of other stuff, and it was getting pretty rough for everything, so we quit using the four-wheel drive on it and everything, and it's pretty much deteriorated to just a motorcycle trail now. But there's a lot of rock in it, a lot of exposed stuff. This country is rock and moon dust, and the moon dust is so light, it's not like riding in sand, it's like riding in talcum powder. But there's an example of second gear.
The bike is very predictable. You don't get any arm pump out of it in that configuration. You want to set the damping down as far as that suspension wants springy. Just totally springy. You can see I'm standing there. I'm going to kind of squat down going around this corner.
Okay, we're back up and going again. Now what we're going to do is we're going to shut her down and crawl down into this little ditch. Then I'm going to preload the suspension, bring the front wheel up and put it 2/3 of the way up, and look over the top of the hill and just see action of moving my head up to look over the top of the hill like that. Has a tendency to keep that front wheel up where I want it. Same thing here. And it's like the bike was built just for what I'm using it for. It's really neat. Okay, now we're going to do a lock-to-lock turn to the left and go back up here. This is about, it's a pretty tight turn. It's not quite, a 180. It's like a 165 maybe, I guess. Then we're going to get down here to the end. And we're going to do a little better than a 180, but then we'll come out of it and go back 360 degrees direction from the way we came in. You can see there. Now we're going to jump this little ditch. But taking that corner, I was in that position I was telling you about, counterbalanced to the opposite side with the weight on the inside foot peg. Anyway, thanks for watching.